Rain hammered against the windows of the Harbor Lantern Cafe, turning the glass into a watery blur of city lights and passing cars. Inside, the cafe buzzed with its usual mix of students hiding from deadlines, elderly couples sharing pastries, and office workers clutching their last bit of sanity in a cup of coffee. Mira wove through the crowd like she had 100 times before, balancing trays, remembering orders, offering smiles even when her feet begged her to sit. She liked this job. Maybe not the rude customers or late hours, but the familiar rhythms kept her mind occupied. Quiet moments were dangerous. They gave her time to miss her sister. And to worry about Lila, the niece who had vanished into thin air after the accident. 3 months. 3 months of waiting, searching, begging authorities to take her seriously. 3 months without answers. She swallowed the ache in her chest and forced herself back into the present. The door chimed. A man walked in, tall, striking, sharply dressed in a suit so flawless it didn't seem to belong in a cozy cafe. Everything about him radiated money and impatience. He didn't wait to be seated. He didn't look around. He went straight to the nearest free table and snapped his fingers. At her, Mira paused mid-stride. "You, coffee, extra hot, no delays." His tone was flat, commanding, like she wasn't a person but part of the furniture. Mira's jaw tensed. She got rude customers often, ones who snapped, whistled, barked, but something about the way he spoke drilled right through her. Maybe because she already felt fragile. Maybe because he reminded her of the people who had brushed her off when she begged for help finding her niece. She exhaled slowly. Professional. Calm. That was the rule. "It'll be a few minutes, sir," she said, keeping her voice steady. "There are customers ahead of you." The man lifted his eyes from his phone. Cold, stormy, offended. "Do you know who I am?" Mira offered a thin smile. "Someone who can wait like everyone else." A couple at the next table choked on their giggles. The man's jaw ticked in irritation. She turned away and continued serving table 7, forcing herself not to care. But she could feel his gaze burning into her back. 10 minutes later, barely enough time to make a latte and settle a bill, he stood abruptly. His chair screeched across the floor, causing half the cafe to flinch. "This is unacceptable," he snapped. "I've had faster service in Monaco. In Tokyo. He cut himself off to reach for his wallet, tossing it onto the counter with a force that made it flip open. Mira didn't look at first. She grabbed his cup, preparing to deliver it with as much grace as she could muster. But something bright, caught her eye. A small photo, tucked neatly into the transparent pocket of the wallet. A child, a little girl, smiling with 2 missing front teeth, wearing a bright yellow raincoat and purple rain boots. The world slammed to a stop. The tray trembled in her hands. She knew that raincoat. She had bought it with her sister at a street market. Lila had chosen it because it made her look like a cheerful lemon. The cup slipped from Myra's fingers and landed on the counter with a dull thud, miraculously not breaking. She grabbed the wallet before the man could react, hands trembling violently. Where did you get this?" she whispered. The man blinked, taken aback by her sudden intensity. "Put that down." "No," she choked out. "Tell me, where did you get this photo?" He frowned. "It's none of your business." Her heart pounded so hard it felt like she was drowning in her own pulse. "It is my business," she insisted, voice rising. "Because that little girl," her breath fractured, "that's my niece." Customers looked over, whispers spreading like wildfire. The billionaire, she recognized him now, finally placing the face. Damian Cross, owner of Cross Tech Industries, occasionally featured on news headlines and business magazines. And the man whose wallet had the picture of her missing niece. Damian's expression faltered, the arrogance melted, replaced by a flicker of confusion, then something far heavier. "Your niece," he repeated quietly. Mira nodded, tears starting to burn her eyes. "She's been missing since the accident. No one knows where she is," the police said. Her breath hitched, and she covered her mouth. Every memory of Lila rushed back. Her giggles, her obsession with coloring books, the way she used to run into Myra's arms every time she visited. Damian stepped closer, lowering his voice. What did you say her name was?" Myra's lips trembled. Lila Hart." Damian's eyes widened. For the first time, he looked shaken. "Mira," he said slowly, "I need you to calm down. I can explain." "No," she burst out. "Where is she? Tell me where she is. What have you done with her?" He raised both hands. "Nothing. I haven't harmed her. She's safe." The words hit her like ice water. Safe. But safe where? Her knees weakened, and she gripped the counter to steady herself. Where? She breathed. Please, where is she? Damien swallowed, his usual confidence gone. She's with my mother. At my family estate. He hesitated. And before you panic, I'm not hiding her. I'm trying to protect her. Mira shook her head, overwhelmed. Why do you even have her? How did she get to you? Damien hesitated, then said something that made her blood freeze completely. Because, I'm her father. Silence crashed over the cafe. Mira stared at him as if he had grown a second head. Father. Her sister had never said a word about the father, not once in all the years she'd raised Lila alone. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. Damien stepped closer. I didn't know, he said softly. Not until the hospital called after the accident. By the time I arrived, your sister was already gone. The coffee machine hummed in the background, the only sound in a room holding its breath. Mira felt the floor tilt. The cafe, the customers, the noise, all of it faded into a distant blur. Damien's voice lowered with remorse. Lila was terrified, lost. I took her in because she had no one. But she kept asking for someone named Mira. He looked at her with a heavy, vulnerable gaze. I didn't know it was you. Mira covered her trembling lips. All this time, Lila wasn't missing. She was with her father, a billionaire who was standing in front of her, looking nothing like the arrogant man from minutes before. Damien extended a hesitant hand. If you want to see her, come with me. And despite her fear, her anger, her confusion, there was only one answer she could give. Yes. For a moment, Mira couldn't hear anything, not the clinking of cups, not the hiss of steaming milk, not the chatter of customers who were openly staring. The cafe blurred into a fog of noise and color. All she could see was Damien Cross, the billionaire she had scolded minutes ago, now standing in front of her with something she never expected. Fear, regret, and a desperate need to be understood. He slipped his wallet from her trembling hands and closed it gently. You know Lila, he said, as if he still struggled to process the truth. Mira nodded, a tear escaping despite her attempt to stay strong. She's everything I have left of my sister. Damien inhaled sharply, his jaw tightening, not with anger this time, but with something that resembled pain. Sit with me, he said softly. Please. Mira hesitated, caught between panic and hope. But the fear of losing Lila again pushed her forward. She followed him to a quiet corner table. Damien sat across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. He looked nothing like the arrogant billionaire who'd walked in earlier. I know you have questions, he began. And you deserve answers. Myra's voice cracked. Where is she right now? At my family estate, Damien said. With my mother. She's safe, I promise you. Myra's breath stuttered, relief and anger warring inside her. Why didn't you contact me? I would have taken care of her. I thought she was. Her voice broke entirely. Damien's expression softened. I did try. I need you to believe that. After the accident, Child Services gave me 2 addresses. One was abandoned, the other was a warehouse. Your phone number wasn't active. Your sister didn't leave a list of emergency contacts. Mira squeezed her eyes shut, guilt washing over her. She'd moved twice after losing her job. She'd changed her number to escape debt collectors. She had spent months searching for Lila. But it had never crossed her mind that someone else might be searching for her too. Then why were you so rude earlier? She whispered. Damien dropped his gaze, ashamed. Because I haven't slept in 2 days, he admitted. Lila's been having nightmares. She wakes up crying for someone named Mira. Over and over. I didn't know who she meant. I thought maybe it was a friend, a teacher, but hearing your name today. He swallowed hard. It felt like everything finally made sense. Myra's heart ached. The thought of Lila calling for her in the night was enough to make her chest feel hollow. Is she happy with you? Mira asked quietly. For the first time, Damien actually smiled, small, fragile, but real. She loves the garden, he said. She chases butterflies. She makes my mother read her the same book every night. And she has this strange obsession with grilled cheese sandwiches. Mira laughed through her tears. That's her favorite. She once cried because I cut it into triangles instead of squares. Damien's smile grew. She yelled at me for that too. They shared a brief, bittersweet moment, 2 people united by the same child, the same memories, the same grief for a woman they both lost. But Mira wasn't done. What do you want from me? She asked cautiously. Damien straightened. To come with me, to see her. She needs you, Mira. Her heart thundered. Seeing Lila again felt like a dream too fragile to trust. But there was another fear lingering beneath her relief. What if you don't want me in her life? She whispered. You're a billionaire. You could have anyone take care of her. A nanny, a therapist, a private school. I'm just Aunt Mira, he finished gently. The one she cries for. The one she remembers. The one she loves. Her breath caught. He leaned in slightly, sincerity pouring from every word. I don't want to replace anyone, he said. I only want to be her father. I just wish your sister had told me sooner. Mira searched his face, looking for lies, arrogance, anything. But he looked like a man who had been given a daughter and then a nightmare all in the same week. A man who didn't want to fight her, but needed her help. Myra's voice was barely a whisper. Take me to her. Damien exhaled like a man who had been holding his breath for months. I'll bring the car. He stood and gestured toward the door, waiting for her to gather her bag and apron. The cafe workers watched them leave, curiosity etched on every face. But Mira didn't care. For the first time in months, her heart felt alive. When they stepped into the rainy afternoon, a black SUV waited at the curb with a driver standing by. Damien opened the back door for her, a small gesture, but one that contrasted sharply with the man who had snapped his fingers at her earlier. After you, she slid in, nerves coiling tight in her stomach. Damien followed, giving the driver a nod. Home. The car pulled away, gliding through misty streets. Mira fidgeted with the strap of her bag, stealing glances at Damien. He wasn't on his phone anymore. He wasn't checking emails or barking orders. He sat quietly, hands clasped together, as if afraid to scare off the fragile peace forming in the car. After a long silence, he spoke. She'll be excited, he said softly. She talks about you more than anything else. Mira pressed her fingers to her lips to hold back a sob. I didn't know she remembered me so clearly. She does, he said. And she needs you. They drove through the city, then across a bridge, heading toward the hills where wealthy estates lined the horizon. Mira felt out of place in her cafe uniform and worn shoes, but this wasn't about class, money, or status. It was about Lila. Finally, the SUV turned down a private road lined with tall cedar trees. At the end stood a sprawling estate with warm golden lights glowing inside, like a beacon in the fog. The gates opened slowly. Myra's pulse quickened. Damien glanced at her. Ready? She shook her head. No, but take me anyway. He gave a soft laugh. Fair enough. The SUV rolled to a gentle stop. The front doors swung open, and an older woman stepped out, elegant, warm-faced, with silver hair tied in a bun. And next to her, clutching a stuffed rabbit, was Lila. Myra's breath shattered. The little girl blinked through the dim light, confused for a split second, then her eyes grew impossibly wide. Aunt Mira, she whispered. Mira burst into tears. Lila. She kicked the car door open and ran like she had been running forever. Lila dropped the rabbit and sprinted toward her, tiny boots splashing through puddles. They collided in the driveway, Mira scooping her into her arms, holding her so tight she feared she might break her. Lila sobbed into her neck. I looked for you. I told them. I told Daddy. Mira froze. Daddy. She glanced up. Damien stood a few feet away, watching them with glistening eyes. He wasn't trying to claim ownership. He wasn't asking for recognition. He was simply standing there. As a father, Mira held Lila close, finally understanding the truth. This wasn't a rescue. This wasn't a kidnapping. This was a broken family finding its missing pieces. And maybe, just maybe, it was also the beginning of something unexpected. Something that might change all their lives forever.